Everything you were taught about money was a lie. At school, they told you to study hard, get a job, save money, and one day you'd live a good life. On TV, they said the economy exists to serve the people. In newspapers, they said your government is working to protect your financial future. But they never told you the truth. This system was never designed to make you free. No matter how hard you work, the system is built to take more from you, every single year. Governments will never admit this openly. They speak in beautiful slogans instead. We're growing the economy. We're working for the people. We are increasing prosperity. But history tells a very different story. Money has always been used as a system of control. And for thousands of years, this system has served only one purpose: to take wealth from the people and move it to the top. This isn't new. It was like this in ancient Rome. It was like this in the Middle Ages. It was like this during the Industrial Revolution. And it's still like this today. The tricks haven't changed. Only the names have changed. Today they call it economic policy. But in reality, it's a silent wealth transfer system. Sometimes they call it inflation, sometimes borrowing, sometimes stability, sometimes stimulus package, sometimes for the good of the people. But the result is always the same. The people lose. The powerful win. If you don't understand how this system works, you can work your entire life and still never be free. But once you see how money really works, once you understand why this system exists, everything changes, because once the truth is revealed, you can never unsee it again. So, if you're ready, let's begin exposing the oldest financial tricks in history. This is the real story of money, power, and empires. Let's start with the oldest trick in economic history: inflation. You hear this word almost every day. Politicians talk about it. Economists try to explain it with complicated phrases. They call it market adjustment, price stability issues, or temporary economic pressure. But don't be fooled. Inflation is not a natural event. Inflation is not just prices going up. Inflation is the silent destruction of money. And when money loses value, the people lose first. This trick isn't new. It began thousands of years ago. Ancient Rome, the silent poisoning of money. As the Roman Empire expanded, its expenses exploded. Wars were expensive. Armies needed to be paid. And the imperial lifestyle demanded more and more silver. But soon, the empire's treasury started to run dry. Rome had a problem. It was running out of money. So the rulers of Rome had two options: raise taxes openly and face a possible revolt from the people, steal from the people quietly without them noticing. Which one do you think they chose? They chose the silent option. They decided to devalue the currency. At first, the Roman silver coin, the denarius, was almost pure silver. Then they reduced the silver content to 80%, then to 50%, then to 20%, and then to less than 5%. Eventually, the denarius was no longer silver at all. It was mostly cheap metal, with just a thin silver coating to fool the people. Rome pretended nothing had changed, but everything had changed. Without raising a single tax, they had stolen the wealth of millions of Roman citizens. The result? Prices exploded. Wages failed to keep up, savings became worthless, and Rome entered economic collapse through hyperinflation. Sound familiar? If a country today sees salaries rise but purchasing power fall, if prices increase month after month, if saving money becomes pointless, that is not a coincidence. That is inflation being used as a weapon. The only difference is this: in ancient Rome, emperors did this through the imperial mint. Today, governments do it through central banks, and still, they call it economic policy. Forced loans, the medieval financial trap. When Rome collapsed, the empire disappeared, but the financial tricks survived. The rulers changed, the flags changed, the languages changed. But those in power still had the same problem. There was never enough money. Kings, queens, and lords of the Middle Ages needed money for one thing above all: power. And power, just like today, required control over money. The king wants a loan, a request you could not refuse. During the Middle Ages, a new method of hidden theft appeared in Europe: forced loans. This happened especially in England, France, and Spain. Whenever the king needed money, he summoned the wealthy merchants, guild leaders, or early bankers to the palace. But this was not a polite invitation. It was a message. You will lend money to the king. This was not a suggestion. This was not a negotiation. This was an order. Refuse and your property would be seized. Speak against it, and you could be imprisoned. Resist, and you would be labeled a traitor. So even though it was called loan, it was actually forced wealth extraction. The false promise. Sometimes the king promised to pay the money back, with interest, but one of three things always happened. Repayment was delayed for years, payment was made in devalued currency, or it was never paid back at all. Sound familiar again? Because today it still works the same way. Only now it has a new name: national debt. The real purpose of forced loans. Forced loans served three clear purposes: to confiscate wealth indirectly, to fund political power, to control society through debt. But there was a problem. Forced loans were too obvious. People began to see the abuse. Anger grew. Kings feared rebellion. So they needed a smarter system, a way to take money without resistance, and in 1694, that system was born. A system that changed world history, a system that still controls global finance today, a system known as the birth of the debt empire. Forced loans helped kings survive for a while, but they had a weakness. People could see the theft. It was too direct, too obvious. The people started resisting, so those in power needed something new. A financial system that would take money from the people, without the people realizing it. A system that looked legal, a system that looked respectable, a system that looked like smart economics. And so, in the year 1694, one of the most powerful inventions in human history was created: the central bank. The deal that changed the world. In 1694, England was losing a costly war against France. The British government was drowning in debt. The people were angry. The economy was breaking. No one wanted to lend money to the government anymore, because everyone knew the truth. Governments don't pay back their debts. But then came a group of wealthy private bankers with a solution. They made a simple offer to the government: we will lend you money if you give us power. The government agreed, and in that moment the Bank of England was born, the world's first central bank. How the system really worked. This new system was presented as national finance reform. But behind the scenes, it was actually a wealth extraction machine. Here's how it worked. Wealthy bankers lent money to the government. The government promised to pay it back, with interest. That interest was paid using taxes collected from the people. So what did this really mean? The rich lent money to the government. The government spent that money immediately. Then the government taxed the people to pay back the rich. The rich got richer with zero risk. This system was given a polite name: public debt. But let's call it what it really is: organized wealth transfer, legalized robbery, the birth of the debt empire. The endless debt cycle. After central banking was created, everything changed. Governments suddenly had infinite borrowing power. They no longer needed to raise taxes. They could simply borrow forever. And so a new economic cycle was born, one that still rules the world: debt, taxes, money printing, more debt, more taxes, more money printing. In this cycle, the people always lose. The financial elite always win. And that is why national debt never goes down. Debt isn't a flaw in the system. Debt is the system. Modern day. How government debt keeps you. Poor government debt. You hear about it on the news. Politicians argue about it. Economists debate it. But somehow, nobody ever asks the real question. Who does the government owe money to? And who gets rich from government debt? They try to make it sound noble. Government borrows for the people. Government borrows to build the economy. Government borrows for progress. But here's the truth. Governments don't borrow for you. They borrow against you. Because the modern economy is no longer built on productivity. It is built on debt. Governments today don't live on tax money. They live on borrowed money. And that borrowed money must be repaid. But here's the trick. The government doesn't repay the debt. The people do. How the debt system really works. This is how the modern financial chain works. The government borrows money by selling bonds. Banks and wealthy investors buy those bonds. The government pays them interest. That interest comes from your taxes. So what happens? Governments get money. Banks get richer. Bond investors get guaranteed profit. And the people pay for all of it. This means government debt equals your debt. Government interest payments equals your taxes. Austerity equals your sacrifice. Inflation equals your lost savings. Even a newborn child today is born in debt before they ever take their first breath. The most important truth about debt. Debt in this system is never meant to be paid off. Why? Because if governments stopped borrowing, banks would stop earning interest, investors would lose guaranteed profit, financial power would collapse. So the system must continue forever. More debt, more taxes, more control. You've probably heard this phrase before. We must borrow to sustain economic stability. Let me translate that for you. We're going to take more money from the people to pay the wealthy. But here's the real danger. Debt is only one weapon in this system. The most powerful financial weapon comes during crises, because every financial crisis has a purpose, and it's not what they tell you. Bailouts, the silent robbery. Every time there is a financial crisis, you hear the same message. We must save the markets. We must protect the economy. We must rescue the banks. But they never say the truth. We are going to use your money to save their losses. That's what a bailout really is. It is not a rescue. It is a transfer of wealth from the public to the financial elite. 2008, the greatest heist in modern history. In 2008, the world's biggest banks collapsed. Why? Because they took reckless risks and gambled with the global economy. They made billions during the boom. And when the bubble burst, they expected to be rescued. In a fair world, they should have gone bankrupt. They should have faced the consequences. That is how a real free market works. But that's not what happened. Governments stepped in and gave banks trillions of dollars, not their money, not investor money, your money, public money, tax money. They told us this is necessary to save the system. But who did they save? Not small businesses, not working families, not taxpayers. They saved Wall Street. They saved corporate giants. They saved the financial elite, the very people who caused the crisis. The profits stay private. The losses become public. Here is the ugly truth behind bailouts. When banks win, they keep the profit. When banks lose, you pay the bill, checkmark, risk is eliminated. For them, checkmark responsibility disappears. For them, this is not capitalism. This is economic feudalism. And the most dangerous part, the system learned something in 2008. It doesn't matter how irresponsibly they behave. The government will always save them. And when the powerful know they will be rescued, they take even bigger risks. That is why crises keep happening, not by accident, but by design. Money printing and the invisible tax, silent theft. When governments need money, they have three options: to take more taxes from the people, to borrow money, to print money. The first two create a reaction. If you raise taxes, people get angry. If you borrow money, the deficit becomes visible. But printing money is silent. That is why printing money is the most loved financial tool of governments, because it makes you poorer without you ever noticing. Money printing equals wealth transfer. In theory, printing money looks harmless. It is explained with fancy terms like economic support, liquidity injection, or market confidence. But in reality, when more money is printed, the value of money falls. Prices begin to rise. The savings of people disappear. Salaries lose their value. Wealth flows upward from the people to the rich, so printing money is a hidden tax that makes the rich richer and the people poorer. The modern tale. Quantitative easing. After the 2008 crisis, a new term appeared in the world. Quantitative easing, QE. This term sounds scientific, doesn't it? But what it really means is, we are printing unlimited amounts of money. Where do you think this money went? It did not go to the salaries of ordinary people. It did not increase production. It did not reduce unemployment. This money went into the stock market, banks, and giant corporations. And what happened as a result? Stock prices increased. House prices exploded. The wealth of the rich doubled. Life became more expensive for ordinary people. This was not a coincidence. This was a planned wealth transfer. Here is the truth. Inflation is not an accident. Printing money is not a solution. Stimulating the economy is a lie. This system makes people who own assets richer and slowly destroys those who live by working. And the saddest part of this game is, people do not see this trick as a tax, so they do not notice it at all. But this is the most brutal tax in history. Who writes the rules? The truth of regulatory capture. We were all taught something when we were young. Government protects the people. The law's equal for everyone. Laws exist for justice. But when you study economic history, you see that the truth is very different. Because in this system, the rules are not written for the people. They are written for those who hold power. There is a scientific name for this truth. Regulatory capture. This means powerful companies take control of the institutions that are supposed to regulate them. And in this way, they shape the rules for their own benefit. The owners of the game. There are countless examples of this in history. In the 19th century, railroad companies bought the laws. In the 20th century, oil monopolies captured the market. In the 21st century, banks and technology giants control the financial and data systems. And these companies are so powerful that they can, checkmark, write laws in their own favor, checkmark, direct state policies, checkmark, create laws that protect themselves, checkmark, eliminate competition and establish monopoly, checkmark, take money from the system without any punishment. Then they tell you the fairy tale of the free market. But the truth is, this is not a market. This is a controlled system, not to protect the people, but to protect the system. This is why big corporations never go bankrupt. This is why when a bank collapses, the state immediately comes to rescue it. This is why big investment funds never lose. This is why laws protect big capital, not small investors. And this is why the system gives the same message in every crisis. They cannot fail. They are too big, but no one tells you the truth. We write the rules, and you will obey them. War and money. The wealth system built on blood. They always told you why wars happen, for land disputes, for the honor of nation, for ideological struggles. But history shows us this: the real reason behind wars is often money. War is a tool for financial elites to grow their wealth. War is an excuse for governments to borrow money. And war is an opportunity for the system to reshape the economy. Why do wars never end? Because the winners of war are always the same. Companies that produce weapons, banks and bondholders that finance the war, energy corporations, companies that win reconstruction contracts after war. And the losers are also always the same. The people workers, the families of soldiers, millions of taxpayers. How is war financed? Modern wars today are not fought only with tanks or planes. They are fought with bonds and debt. Every war works with the same financial mechanism. The state borrows money. The state sells bonds. Banks and wealthy investors buy these bonds. Even after the war ends, this debt is paid by taxes collected from the people. This system has a name in history: war capitalism or debt economy. How are people convinced? The real face of war is never told to the public. That's why strong propaganda is used: for national security, for democracy, for freedom, for the homeland, to prevent threats. But behind the curtain, the money flow is always the same, and in every war, the rich become richer. 21st century reality. Do you know how much the Iraq War cost the United States? $2 trillion. Where did this money come from? From the people. Who made money from it? Defense corporations, oil companies, and banks. Afghanistan? Same. Ukraine? Same. Every conflict in the Middle East? Same system. This is why wars never end. Because war is a business model. And in this model, the only product sold is human life. The hidden system. The curtain of complexity. Until now, we have seen this. Governments borrow money, print money, transfer wealth, manage crises, and finance wars. So how is it that all of this happens? And yet nobody understands what is really going on. The answer is simple. The easiest way to hide a system is to make it look complicated. A wall, built on purpose today, anyone who wants to understand the economy faces this. Thousands of pages of tax laws. Economic terms nobody understands. Secret central bank meetings. Hidden budget reports. Financial tables designed to confuse official statements written so that nobody can understand them. This is not a coincidence. This is a wall of information built on purpose. Because if people do not understand something, they do not question it. And if they do not question it, they obey. Academic language tactics. Economists never explain the truth openly, because the system does not want them to explain it simply. For example, they never say, printing money makes you poorer. Instead, they say, expansion of the money supply may cause fiscal pressure. They never say, why banks trap you with debt. Instead, credit expansion supports economic activity. They will never say, inflation is a wealth transfer. Instead, inflation is a natural side effect of economic growth. Do you see it now? Language is a weapon. The most effective way to hide the truth is to bury it under complicated words. Knowledge is power. But who has it? Today, financial knowledge is closed to ordinary people. But it is given to elites for free. Bankers know this system. Fund managers know it. Big investors know it. People inside the state know it. But what is taught to the people? Empty debates like interest is forbidden versus interest is necessary. Simple news like, did the dollar rise or fall today? A financial mindset trapped in, should I buy gold or dollars? They never teach you the rules of the game, because if you understand the system loses power over you. Awakening. How can you beat this game? What we have explained in this video is not simple information. This is a map of financial truths that have been hidden from you. Because here is the real truth. This system does not want you to become rich. This system was not built to make you free. This system exists to force you to work your whole life. But know this well. It is possible to escape this game. Because in every financial crisis, every economic collapse, every Great Depression, there were always people who came out stronger. Do you know how they survived? They learned the tricks of the system. They understood how money really works. They controlled debt, inflation, and wealth accumulation. They gained freedom through financial literacy. What is the real solution? Saving money is not enough. You must protect value. Working hard is not enough. You must play in the right arena. Earning money is not enough. You must know how to keep it. Checkmark income alone is not enough. You must own assets. In today's world, the powerful are not those who only earn income. The powerful are those who own assets, those who own land, gold, production, strategy. They win. Financial freedom is not a right, it is a skill. No one will teach you the real economic system. Schools will not teach it. Governments will not teach it. Banks will never teach it. That is why you must learn it. Because those who do not understand are controlled, and those who understand control. History has proven this again and again. Knowledge is more valuable than money. On this channel, we are not just talking about economics. We are searching for the truth, because we know that no one is coming to save us. Not the government, not the banks, not the system. We will save ourselves with knowledge, awareness, and strategy. This is not just another channel. This is a place for those who want to wake up. A place for those who refuse to stop thinking and start questioning. This community is growing, learning, and becoming stronger. Because we have no other choice. If you want to understand this system, read the game, and take control of your own future. You are not alone. We are here. Subscribe, because this is just the beginning. We continue. Empires and Economies. Truth is power.